It's time to gather loved ones together for all the holidays' best spread. Lynn's has great prices on all your favorite Thanksgiving items, from delicious turkey with all the fixings to mashed potatoes and yummy pies. We have everything you need to create your perfect Thanksgiving dinner. Whether it's cooking the traditional meal, completely store-bought, or a combination of both, your best holiday meal starts here. Learn more and start shopping today at linsgrocery.com. Lynn's, where delicious begins.
All right. Before we get into today's episode, I just got to give a huge double, triple, quadruple, infinite shout out to the Patreon subscribers. You guys are the life's blood of the show. You keep it going and growing, and I appreciate it immensely. And if you're a Patreon subscriber and I haven't shouted you out directly on the show, that's on me. It slipped through the cracks. Hit me up. Direct message me on Patreon, and I will get that rectified on the next episode because I mean to do that to everybody. If you don't know what Patreon is, it's a way for you to support the show. There's 4 different levels of patronage. They all come with their own special access and benefits, or things like that, deliverables. I don't know what the word is, right? But they all have their own special benefits. But all of the Patreon subscribers get things like early access to episodes, exclusive discounts. I do giveaways on there. I'm going to be doing more exclusive content and episodes just for Patreon subscribers. So check it out, patreon.com/bigtruth. If you want more information just on the show in general, bigtruthpodcast.com. And if you go to bigtruthpodcast.com and hit the store link, you can check out some cool merch. I got more coming soon too. But, all the normal stuff like T-shirts and hoodies and crew necks and, tank tops and all that stuff. Then all kinds of wacky stuff because it's a merch fulfillment company and they hook it all up. You want a banner like what's behind me? You can check it out there. But so, simple enough. bigtruthpodcast.com/store. Or hit the store link on the nav button on the top of the page at bigtruthpodcast.com. I don't know how many more times I can keep saying that. But, all right. Now, this is just for the Massachusetts residents. If you happen to find yourself in the unfortunate situation where you're in a motorcycle accident, you need to check out my dudes over at Glassman Injury Attorneys. All right. How do you find them? Go to gottagetglassman.com or go to jeffreyglassman.com. Or the easiest number ever in the world to remember, especially if you're a Boston resident or a Massachusetts resident, 617-777-7777. And don't forget, you got up to 3 years to get a claim going if someone hit you or you were in some kind of motorcycle-related vehicular accident. And you know how it goes. 9 times out of 10, the motorcyclist isn't at fault. So get them. Make them learn a lesson. You know what I mean? Can't always administer street justice or take matters into your own hands. So go the way that you should and get an attorney like Glassman, top of the line, top of the food chain to represent you. Even if you already got a case going and your lawyer's a little slack and not doing the job, hit Glassman up. All right, where do you get him? Again, gottagetglassman.com, jeffreyglassman.com, or 617-777-7777. If you are in the need of some art, and I would say it, I'm trying to not say it with the Boston accent, art, not art. All right. I know. But if you need some art, check out tattooflashcollective.com. Now, if you have a tattoo shop, it's a no-brainer. They got a bunch of tattoo flash. They also have posters and prints in all sizes. They got books, whatever you need to fill the void in your heart or fill the hole in the wall that you punch through or, just the blank spot, right? So tattooflashcollective.com. If you use the promo code BIGTRUTH at checkout, you get 10% off your order. All right, little hint, if you're a Patreon subscriber, you get even more off your order. So if you need a lot of artwork, might make sense to go over to Patreon, join up, and then juice us for the extra extra percentage off, and it'll pay to be a Patreon subscriber. If you are in the Northeast and want to check out my motorcycle shop, it's a full brick and mortar, full service motorcycle shop. We can do everything you need, whether you need an oil change or a full custom bike built, anything in between that. It's Chopperhead Custom Cycles, spelled CHOPPAHEAD, the most masshole ways. And we're located at 13 County Road, East Freetown, Massachusetts. We got a full parts counter, showroom, We got an area with all the helmets and riding gear and everything, and then a full service shop in the back. We're not just a lifestyle company. We are the freaking lifestyle. So check us out, chopahead.com. If you're not local and you got to get something online, we got swag online, we got parts online. I don't have a full IT team developing a website. So if you need a part and you don't see it online, we're hooked up with everybody. I can get you the part. So you can always give us a call or shoot us an email in that case, 508-995-6764. And that's about it. I got my man Chris Rucker coming on, and so I'm gonna stop babbling now, and we're gonna get set up for that. So keep it locked. And if you don't already subscribe on YouTube, make sure you sign up on YouTube. We're just developing that branch of our social media now, because I've only been doing video shows for a little while. I think only like 4 episodes have been on video. Before that, it was all on audio. We're slaying on Spotify and the other platforms. We're just lagging on YouTube, so help me out. And even if you listen on Spotify or Apple or whatever, go over to YouTube and give us a subscribe or a follow, whatever it is. And I think it's just youtube.com at The Big Truth Podcast. All right, well, that's about it. Let's get into it right now.
Sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have a liftoff.
Yes, once again, we have liftoff. I want to thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Big Truth Podcast. And I'm stoked to be sitting here today, well, at least remotely, even though he's been over at the shop the last few months, if you've been around on Bike Night, with my man, Chris Rucker, who is an old friend, spanning decades through the world of music, punk rock, hardcore, and hip hop. And also he is a representative of the Jeffrey Glassman Injury Attorneys, or the Injury Law Group. So you've seen him here at Bike Night, set up over there and spreading the word about that stuff, which is important because, obviously we got a lot of riders on this show. So we'll probably get into some knowledge that is good for you guys to know if you happen to find yourself in that unfortunate situation where you're in a motorcycle accident, because there's only 2 types of riders, those who've gone down and those who are gonna. We all been there, right? And it sucks. But Chris, what's up, man? It's good to see you. Even though I just saw you last week, I've seen you more in the last 3 months than I have in the last 8 years.
I know. Truth, good to see you, buddy. Hey, first off, congratulations on the great podcast.
Yeah,
congratulations on the shop. Our roots together run so deep, and I feel like I'm in Truth, 3.0 or 4.0, right? It's like this is like a whole new world, and you've done such a good job with it. And I love the podcast, right? How about the Street Dogs podcast last time around? Wow.
Yeah, man, there was a lot of bombs dropped on that one, and it's that one's still rocking and rolling. I was looking at the numbers today, and it's going up and up and up. But it's more relevant because as they're getting closer to the shows. And if you guys slacked, that show already sold out. The Middle East show in Boston's already sold out. So you're going to have to make some friends with somebody to get you in if you don't have a ticket for that one already. I don't know if that Punkin Drublick one or whatever, I don't know if that big venue sold out, but you'll get another chance. They'll be around in a year if you can't get to the Boston show. But they're going to have a bunch going on, West Coast dates, Europe dates, and then they're going to come back and do a couple more Wreck the Halls dates in 2025, I believe. But anyway,
it's great to see those guys out there. Johnny has just done such a good job with those guys. And really, Johnny's turned into iconic status at this point, right? The guy's just, it's awesome. So that was a great episode with Mike and Johnny. So again, Big Truth Podcast, love it. Subscriber, yeah. I'm all in. Give me a t-shirt,
Yeah. Dude, you got to tell me a size. I got some here. I probably have one for you. Next time. Well, I don't know if there's going to be another bike night this year. There's a continuing situation going on with the town. I'll tell you about that off mic. I forgot to tell you about that. Well, there was new developments as of today. I had some visitations. I got to have some sit downs with some people in the town, and if bike night comes back, I might have to have details and all that stuff. But we'll figure that out, and I'll let you know. Yeah, yeah. So it's good. The last few have gotten a little wild with the stunt crews, and even though we all enjoy it, I guess some of the neighbors don't, and the local PD doesn't. So
Yeah,
we'll have to figure out a new
those
approach.
those stunt kids are wild, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
they just come out and do their thing. It's like I don't even think they stop to hang out. I just
yeah,
think they put on a show and then they
yeah,
take off, right?
yeah,
Like
yeah,
it's like they're wearing masks and like helmets that are covered. You don't even know who they are. They
yeah,
come
yeah.
by, they put on a show.
Mhm.
They're doing crazy stuff. And, again, I'm not a bike rider, so to speak, but man,
Mm.
wildly entertaining. I mean, bike night's well worth it. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
let's get all that settled and hopefully we can bring back the fun.
Yeah, I'll try for September. If not, we'll figure it out for next year because September is usually the last one anyway. But yeah. So I was trying to think of when I first met you. It had to be sometime in the '90s, mid '90s. About
Yeah, mid late 90s, right?
yeah,
Like
somewhere in there.
you and Papa D
Yeah,
were running a fantastic record label now, obviously historically great Brick Records, right? I mean, just banging out release after release locally in Boston. I mean, I know this thing is the podcast is nationwide, even globally, right? But here in Boston, and I'm sure a lot of people have heard of it nationally, especially if you're a hip hop head, Brick Records, right? I mean, that was our first kind of gathering, right? You,
yeah,
Papa D. I don't know specifically when. I mean, it was definitely mid to late 90s.
yeah,
And it probably surrounded like 7L and Esoteric and Mr. Liff and some of the early God Complex, Rebel Alliance stuff.
yeah. I tell you, and I don't even know, you may know it or not, but when I first started Brick, the first release was actually a hardcore release, and it was a 7-inch. If you don't have it, I found some, so I'll give you one because I
Wow.
know you're a historian.
Yeah.
And it's when I was like out in Arizona. I had left Massachusetts. I was out in Arizona for a couple years, and I started it for a friend that had died. We did a 7-inch in honor of a friend who had died in the Providence hardcore scene, Providence, Boston hardcore scene. And so it was a hardcore 7-inch, and then the next release was the 7L and Esoteric. Well, it was God Complex when 7L and Esoteric. So Czarface, 7L and so God Complex became 7L and Esoteric, which became Czarface. Just for people, I'm sure there's a lot of people who know Czarface. You know what I mean? So, and so Seamus was my roommate at the time when I was came back to Boston, and we all met in at Salem State College when we were kids, like in the 92 to 94 era. And so put out the God Complex AOI split 12-inch. And then I did the Rebel Alliance LP, and I kind of was using the Wu-Tang method, right? Where it was like, all right, let me put out a compilation of all the Boston artists, and then we'll start doing individual records with each of them. And then right after the Rebel Alliance LP, I think that's when Papa D signed on as my partner. And now he's just doing 99.999999999% of the work. And I'm the silent guy. But yeah, so that's just for people that's early history. That's started at 95. It was a hardcore label, then quickly became a hip hop label because my roommate was a hip hop artist and just wanted to hook him up. And,
And a damn good one, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
Seamus,
And
was
shout out, dude! I'm
unbelievable.
so
Still
proud.
is.
I mean, now he signed to Virgin Records with Czarface. He's in a group with Inspector Deck from Wu-Tang and 7L, and they're killing it. And Seamus will come back on at some point, and we were supposed to do it a while back, but it's just who knows? Everything's crazy. During COVID, it was wicked easy to do stuff, right? Because it was like everyone had time, and now we're all busy. We're all we're all at like 140% because we're trying to. That extra 40% is making up for the time where everything was quiet for a couple years.
I know.
And a lot of dudes have families and whatnot now, and it's wild. But yeah, so that was just kind of like early history of that stuff, and yeah, and then then it just
And
went
then
on.
it kind of went on into like the punk and hardcore scene,
yeah,
right? Like we were always kind of busting around that world, right? The punk and hardcore stuff,
Yeah.
whatever club was it, whatever American Legion Hall,
Yeah.
right? You were, we were there. record release parties. I remember in the enormous room in Cambridge down at Central Square. That was a good one
Yeah.
with Slane, right? Like our
Yeah.
mutual friend Slane was there. And
Yeah.
God, I mean, how about Slane having like turning into like a movie star, right? You know,
Yeah.
now we talk about Seamus and Czarface and,
Yeah.
mutual friend Slane. And that's that. I remember that day because that was like the Dangerous Connection. I think that was a Dangerous Connection party, right? Like the release party for 7L and Esoteric, like you said, now Czarface. And, you were instrumental in that, right? What a great record, right? And
Yeah.
I remember looking back on some photos recently and seeing Matt Pike from the Kenmore Agency, who
Yeah.
at the time was repping 7L and Esoteric. I was doing, like, since I was friendly with Seamus and George.
Matt's still doing that,
st-
right? But he's in LA, but he's still doing it, I think. I haven't talked to Matt in
No.
years.
I mean, Matt Pike is like one of the premier like heavy music agents, right?
Yeah.
Like the Kenmore Agency is like right there in the front row. Those guys are doing well.
Yeah. Yeah, man. That's
And
awesome.
I remember trying to bring George and Seamus together with Matt, and Matt took them on as a client, right? Like Matt had, Converge and Cave In and Hope Conspiracy and all these like really heavy hardcore bands and metal and hardcore bands. And then he had, 7L and Esoteric on his roster.
So bizarre.
And I thought that was cool, right? Like that was pretty neat.
Well, guys like you and me always were gap bridgers, I would say, in a way, because we navigated between worlds. Like I grew up in hardcore and I grew up with hip hop and I grew up navigating. And I remember when those two worlds were very separate worlds, and then they came together a little bit. Then they would collide, and then they would spread apart again, and then come back. But there's a lot of people that weave through both, and and that's why we were always bumping into each other wherever we'd be pumping into each other. Like you said, at like those any hip hop show, any hardcore show, any punk show. Like I knew I was probably going to run into you there. But what got you into like music in general? Because you have a long career, even before we get into any of the law stuff. Like like you were always involved, like with radio. And then I know later you went into like sports radio and stuff. But you were always involved. Like you always had radio shows and you were always like on the scene, like helping and being involved. Like what got you into music in the first place, and how'd you find your way into like punk, hardcore, and hip hop stuff, especially back then? Because they were nowhere near as popular as they are now. They were way more underground.
Sure. Yeah, no, that's a great question. And, it really just started out like passion and love for music, like we all do, right? Like I was a little kid, growing up, first, second, third grade, like really getting into, heavy metal at the time, right? Some Van Halen or Motley Crue or bands like that. And then quickly got into the Clash and the Ramones. And those are kind of more of the mainstream punk bands. And then, as I got older, morphed into like the early Metallica, Slayer, Anthrax, Exodus, that world, Death Angel, things like that. And then by the time I was 18, I was working at WFNX, which is, for many of you guys, if you don't know, is a heritage alternative rock station, or was a heritage alternative rock station. One, like the real first original alternative station in America, along with K-Rock in California. FNX responsible for like the Smashing Pumpkins and Nirvana, and really putting those two artists on the map. Sonic Youth, Beck, even Eminem, right? Like Eminem started out as an alternative music artist. And I worked at that radio station as a part-time worker in the marketing and music department. Then I went on to be a DJ. And that's kind of where we hooked up, because I was hosting a show called New England Product, a local music show. And one of the great things about that show, it gave me carte blanche to play whatever I want, right? So I was really focused on the things that I liked, and I was hoping some of my love for that music would be infectious to the masses, and it was, right? Like, I was playing a lot of 7L and Esoteric and Brick Records artists, and Reach the Sky and Slapshot and Converge and Cave In, and some really heavy stuff, Hope Conspiracy, and even some of the really hardcore stuff like Colin of Arabia, things like that, like, like really, and I mean, who hears that on commercial rock radio in a major market like Boston? So that's where I started. I quickly, or no, I shouldn't say quickly, I was there for about 5 years, hosted that great radio show, shifted over to the corporate world at WBCN, another great, well-known trend-setting radio station, not as alternative, but certainly, a big name in that world, WBCN 104.1 here in Boston, and then shifted over to 98.5, the Sports Hub, where I was the marketing director for 10 years there. An awesome run in media, right? Really started when I was a kid, and it just kind of really just started with the love of music, right?
Yeah.
And then it just kept going, and then that's it. And now I find myself, I did a couple years in sports, right? Pro lacrosse. And then I was at a small boutique sports agency in the Boston area. Then I shifted over to Jeffrey Glassman Injury Lawyers, where I find myself now. I'm very excited about it.
Yeah. Well, that was a good overview of your career for sure. You know what's crazy is like you brought up FNX and BSN. And I know FNX, launched a lot of people. But did you know, like BSN, like Lars had told me that like BSN was the radio station responsible for like Rancid getting big. They were doing like, small club tours, and then BCN started playing. I can't remember the name of the song. So stupid. Like Rancid,
maybe like Time Bomb or Roots Radical or something like that, right? No, even before that.
Salvation, I think it was, right?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So Salve. Okay, good. That's awesome.
And then they were like, because Boston was a trendsetter, right? Like, so since BCN was playing the shit out of it, other stations around the country started picking it up and playing it. And then like they're on this like small little club tour in a van, and then like their agent's like, bro, you got to get home. We got to make a video for this. Like, it's like hitting, like they, because it was the days you didn't even know, you know what I mean? Like, and it was like akin to like, I was talking to Jimmy with Murphy's Law, like Murphy's Law was on tour with Beastie Boys during License to Ill, and they would start out in small clubs, and then like along the way, shit just popped, right? And then like they finish in arenas. Like you can't even do that nowadays anymore. Like that's like back then, radio and like records and stuff had so much more power because it was less decentralized than it is now. Like it's wild, but there's always pros and cons to that, because then you got gatekeepers, and like they're the ones allowing what comes through and what doesn't. But like it's what are your thoughts on that as someone that was involved in that industry for so long, like how it was versus how it is now?
Yeah, I mean, back then it was like, it was the discovery, right? Like, like Motorhead says, the chase is better than the catch, right? Yeah. Like you used to chase down that music wondering like, oh, I'm going to listen to the new song, right? Like I can't wait to hear the debut album, or I can't wait for the new single to drop. And yeah, you're right. BCN really championed Rancid early on. Oedipus, the program director.
That's
WBCN.
Who it was. Yeah.
He's a punk rocker.
Yeah. It's just
wild. Which is great. And I think, they had a great relationship with Epitaph too, right? Like Oedipus was really tight with Brett over at Epitaph. And again, I think BCN really took a lot of pride in championing Rancid, which is awesome, right? Like major market in Boston. And when BCN would play a song, you're totally right. Like people would react to it, and those guys were paving the road and setting those trends for other markets around America. But yeah, to go back to your question, I loved discovering new music and being served new music by tastemakers and trendsetters, or listening to local radio or local artists, and then just figuring it out on my own instead of, it's almost diatribe now where, you don't really seek out that sort of thing. It's not delivered to you in the same way as it used to be. Now it's delivered to you vastly, obviously digitally, social media, which again, none of these things are bad. They're not bad touch points, but I found the more organic way to be a lot more satisfying for me.
Yeah.
Sorry. But it was wild being a part of that world at the time. It was we would go out. We were, record labels would take us out to dinner. The backstage passes, the front row
Yeah,
seats,
yeah.
all of that, right? Sometimes,
All the giveaways and whatnot. Yeah.
oh yeah, I mean, it was like my music collection's huge. I mean, I wasn't one of those guys that sold a lot of records back to used record stores. I would just give them to friends, right?
Yeah.
Like, hey, you want all these records because I don't like them at all. And then I'd obviously keep what I want, but I'm still to this day a massive audiophile.
Mm.
I consume music, whether I go way back or even present time, getting it's just as much music as possible. I can't wait to head down to Purchase Street Records. I know they're friends of yours. Like, I can't
Yeah.
wait to go to that record store and just buy everything in it because it looks awesome.
Yeah, and Roger's like a an old head like us, and knows what's up, and curates a good collection of vinyl over there at Purchase Street. So, there's and I don't know if this happens to you or not, but like I'm always like, oh yeah, I'm looking for this record, or whatever, and then I get someplace like a record store that's a good record store, and then ADD kicks in, and I like just get so overwhelmed that I flip through things, and I'm like, I got to get out of here. I either leave with everything or nothing because it's like I get too overwhelmed and I forget everything I'm looking for, and then I get wrapped up just in flipping through the stacks, and it's like, how do they have this? Like, why do they? And then half of what I'm doing now is like, damn, this record's worth this much. I think I got it still. Like, you know what I mean? It's crazy.
Sure.
The vinyl market's still crazy. I know it was really crazy during COVID, but it's still crazy now. Like,
yeah, I mean, I love all those records still, and it's funny because I'll go through my library, which I keep pretty organized, and I'll pull some records out. And again, I'm a big CD guy too. I love, a lot of things are recorded digitally,
Yeah.
right? Like these days, over the last 30, 25 years, Pro Tools, right? Everything's done digitally, so it doesn't always translate to vinyl as much as some people would like to think it does.
Yeah.
So the CD still is pretty relevant, and it's easy for me to put in my car and whatnot. And I have a Discman. I know it sounds crazy, and I have a full rig at my house: CDs, vinyl, the whole thing. So, but I do love records a lot. And it's funny because I'll flip through them and I'm like, wow, this record's worth a lot of money. But you know what? I don't want to get rid of it. I don't want to sell it. It's my record.
Yeah, I don't either. It's just weird. I don't realize just how much records that I thought would be worth a lot of money aren't anymore, but records that were like whatever records are like worth like a ton of money. It's wild, and it's because it's the time. Like the stuff that you had to search for when you were a kid sometimes isn't as relevant anymore as some stuff that was just given to you, or stuff that was just like, whatever. I was at this show and I saw this band and I picked it up and I didn't realize it was worth all this money. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, 100%. No, but that's it. And again, you can tell, like you and I just rapping right here on the podcast, like our love for music, our love for the format, our love for the art of music too, right? I think a lot of that, again, I mean, most of the listeners know, but just having the gatefold sleeve and reading the liner notes, all those things are so wild to me still, right? Like I buy a record, I open it up, I turn the lights on, I put my glasses on, and I read everything about it. And then I have a moment with it. Like I like to throw in the headphones, go in and out. It could be a hardcore record, it could be a punk rock record, it could be a jazz record.
Yeah.
I just consume music on so much volume of music, and I love it. But again, my genre is, like I said, like just like you, really heavy rock and punk rock and hardcore and metal and the hair metal stuff. I have a real soft spot in my heart for that stuff because that's what I grew up with.
You're gonna love Purchase Street Records, and that's what Rogers all about that stuff.
Yeah, I follow those guys on social media, and they do these record reviews with, like they're in like some of their customers, or there's a radio guy that comes in and he does and they always pick these great records, whether it's like Faster Pussycat or the new LA Guns record. And I'm like, yes, I got to get down there. This guy's speaking my language. Yeah,
he's really tied in with HJY, the Rhode Island station, the Rhode Island rock station. So I know they're down there a lot. Did you go check out Metallica this weekend? I know you. I
did. I was there last night. Right, like it was great. I'm not adverse to. I think I'm just not excited always about big stadium shows.
Yeah, that's what kept me away.
Found love. Yeah, always found love in the the smaller venues. Always like enjoyed that up close vibe, the sound, the whole thing.
Sure.
So yeah, I mean, it was fine. I mean, it was, it wasn't. I'm not going to tell you it was awesome, right? Like it was older Metallica just doing like a potpourri of their career. Like I think those guys, I mean, they're amazing, right? Like Kirk Hammett's timeless. The guy can play guitar forever, and I love watching him play. And I'm not a guitar player, but that guy just epic solos and just. I mean, sometimes I think about guitar players with or bands with two guitar players and like Hetfield, Hammett, Henneman, and Kerry King and Slayer. Like those are like two of my favorite bands that have dual guitar players. And watching Kirk Hammett and James Hetfield always, even now, play off each other was amazing. And but yeah, no, I'm certainly like I certainly like the earlier stuff better. The
Sure.
Ride the Lightning, Kill 'Em All, Master of Puppets. I love that era of Metallica. But I don't mind Hardwired to Self-Destruct and some of the later stuff, but I do prefer some of the earlier stuff. But yeah, those guys got to play to multiple decades worth of fans, right? I saw little kids there
Yeah.
that probably love the new record, right? And
Yeah, probably not. They probably love the old record because they're listening to the old record with their father or something, with their parents,
Yeah,
I'm
sure.
just kidding. I'm just being devil's advocate. But
No, 100%. You're right, though. You're 100% right. You're spot on. And yeah, it was decent. It wasn't mind blowing, but it was good. And it was a fun night out, and
yeah.
I had a good time. And just to see those guys, and Robert Trujillo fits in perfectly. He was in Infectious Grooves and did a run at Suicidal Tendencies, and he's great. Total West Coast guy, right? Fits right
you know
into
who's
those
nasty
dudes.
too? His kid. His kid's playing in Suicidal.
Oh, that's right. He's in
now.
a band, I heard.
He's in Suicidal, yeah. And
he is in Suicidal. Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
the last time they played at in Worcester, the Palladium, I had to I ended up having to announce Suicidal, which was weird and surreal. But he's a good kid, and his fingers are as like fast as his father's. Like he's another one. He doesn't play with a pick. He's like all hand, and it's bananas how fast that kid is. But he's still a kid. He's still a kid, so he got to learn to run around a little bit and stuff. But like his stage presence was still more. He was just more focused on playing. But it was nasty. He's gonna have a long career if he chooses to stay in that.
Well, that's great. Yeah, it obviously runs in the family because his dad's a beast, right? And it was fun to watch those guys and just be as close as I was. I was in the general admission on the floor, and just to watch those guys play and like I said, Hammett, Hetfield, see what Lars is doing. It was awesome. It was good. So it was a good time for sure. They opened up with Whiplash and just
cool.
kind of went on from there. Yeah, it was fun.
So you are someone that's been around a lot of scenes for a lot of years. Thinking back, and I know this might be hard to pick up, like maybe say a couple, but like what have been like the more standout or favorite like shows or performances for you through the years, like the stuff where you're like, damn, that was a good fucking show.
Yeah, I mean, we're since we're talking a lot about heavy stuff, like I saw Slayer at the Worcester Palladium many years ago. This is before Henneman passed away. I'm a big Slayer guy, so
okay, cool.
That was a pretty special show. It was powerful. It's I wasn't down in front getting in the mix or anything. I was sat up like in the front row of the balcony, and I really took it all in. And it was great to just see how powerful those guys. So Slayer at the Palladium, I don't know what year it was, but it was the Lombardo, Henneman, Tom Araya, Kerry King lineup. So it was that classic lineup.
Yeah.
And then I guess, the first shows that I saw were always the most standout. So I guess that's like the modern era show that I really liked, amongst like hundreds of others, right? We could talk all day.
Yeah.
But when I was a kid, my first two concerts my first one was Megadeth, So Far, So Good, So What, tour at the Orpheum Theater. And then my second concert was AC/DC at the Boston Garden for the Blow Up My Video tour. And also that same year, there was an all ages show at the Channel with Sacred Reich, Sick of It All, Napalm Death, and Sepultura.
I remember.
And
that.
I went, and that was a show that was like my first holy shit moment, so to speak. Like this is like welcome to the party. And
because that was like the tour
sixth
where
grade,
like,
maybe 6th or 7th grade. It was wild.
But that was the tour where they really like were like hardcore and metal started to like it was the first time metal bands were bringing like hardcore bands out, or like one of the first.
Yeah,
groups.
and you could tell in the crowd, right? There was like the guys with the long hair, and then you could tell who the hardcore kids were, and it was that crossover, right? That was going on in New York City at the same time too,
Yeah.
and it was really starting to happen. And when you had a band like Sick of It All playing with a band like Napalm Death, it was wild. And Murphy's Law, you mentioned Jimmy, right? Those guys did a lot of that stuff too. Agnostic Front, I mean, God, those guys are the kings of that stuff. But yeah, it was just a wild show, and to be a part of that scene, like at the Channel, which is now an iconic club, or it's now gone, but
Yeah.
it goes down in the history books. But yeah, that was a real wild show. So I guess those first three shows, Megadeth, with Sanctuary and Warlock, who I didn't really keep up with, but Megadeth, I loved for years. And then right into AC/DC at the Garden, which was great. And then, like I said, that club show, and then kind of just went on, right? Like,
wild.
Show after show, hundreds and thousands of shows later.
Yeah.
I went to Metallica last night.
Yeah. It's funny too, because for most people, like in our age group, it would start with AC/DC, then get to Megadeth. Like you started with the harder shit and then was like backtrack to like the more classic. Yeah, that's fucking rad, man. Anything else through the years that stood out as like a particularly, it could be any genre, like a particularly good show or anything?
I saw some great hip hop shows at the Middle East downstairs, right? Like there was a Super Bowl of hip hop. I remember seeing Eminem really early on doing a battle rap against one of your guys, Mr. Liff, and Liff tore him up, right? I think he was Marshall Mathers at the time. He might not even been Eminem, or maybe he was. I don't know, but
that was that around the same time they were doing that Lyricist Lounge tour?
Yes, exactly. And it was I think they called it the Super Bowl of hip hop. Oh, excuse me, the Super Bowl of hip hop is what they were calling it. And it was just basically a battle rap, right? And like I just remember seeing that.
There was so much of that in Boston, which was cool. There's so many just like battle nights. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but you'd never it wasn't the Eminem movie came out, 8 Mile, and it got really kind of mainstream. But
this was
when you used to
before.
just walk into that stuff and you'd never seen it, you didn't see it on YouTube. It was really unique and really creative and really just powerful, right? Like a lot of that stuff. And so I saw a ton of great shows at the Middle East, whether it was Queens of the Stone Age or the White Stripes, or that's how I got into 7 On Esoteric. Those guys were so good live, and Seamus was such a beast on the mic, and George was just so he's just so great. He's such a great DJ, and bands like Cave-In and Converge really made an impact, and American Legion halls and clubs pieballed locally. Just a lot of that stuff was just blood for blood, right? I mean, that stuff was just like, it was dangerous. It was fun. It was loud. It was powerful. I mean, those guys were such good players too. I think a lot of people discount. I mean, I don't play an instrument, but Rob Lind, when he had that guitar tone, it was just like, whoa, especially live in a small room. You're like, this is wild.
Oh yeah. And I feel like that was one element that used to be more involved in underground music, was just the danger aspect, that kind of gone now, which is, I don't know, probably all right, but I miss that. Like, you know what I mean? I miss being like, it's going to be sketchy, you know what I mean? But it's
yeah. It's funny because you go to a show now like Metallica, and again, I'm not here to rate the pit or anything, the danger level, but there was just like a lot of people pushing each other around, and throwing arms around. And I'm like, guys, like go to a show back in the mid to early 90s, even late 80s, right? And it's just, those guys set the table, right? That was a pit,
especially Slayer shows, man. Like those,
danger, right?
Out of control. A fun fact is, years ago, like, did you ever see the Slayer home video that they filmed at the Mesa Amphitheater?
I don't think so. I might have, though.
That was,
20 something years ago.
years ago. I was at that show, like me and my old business partner Chop Jay and my brother Brent. We went to that in Mesa, and it was like us and like the Navajo Nation. That's who was at that show. Like, and it was fucking wild. That's one of the wildest shows I've been at. Like, and I remember like we were the three hardcore kids that were like doing hardcore shit and like hadn't made it out to Arizona. Like, it was a lot of like dudes off the reservation. You know what I mean? Like literally.
Sure.
And they were
like literally, yeah.
And they were like, "What the fuck are you guys doing? It's fucking crazy." But they were like stoked. It was like so fucking funny. Like they were like, "This is nuts." Like, it was fucking awesome. That was sometime, I think, the late '90s or something, like mid '90s or late '90s. But that was such a fun standout show. But did you get to see Slayer when they did that special little secret show at the Living Room in Providence?
No, I didn't, but I do remember that.
Yeah.
No, I was not. I don't know, for whatever reason, I couldn't attend or didn't get what heard about it later or something. But I didn't. There's, it's funny how you regret these things too.
Of
like
course,
there's a lot of like, God, I can't believe I missed that.
Yeah.
I can't believe I didn't go to that. I had tickets, or I just couldn't find a ride, or I stayed home or something. But I'll certainly strike that one up as a New England appearance by Slayer that I missed that. Again, in the Living Room, come on,
Yeah, I mean, 300-person room was fucking crazy. I only asked because it was like probably the last time that they probably ever played a club. You know what I mean? Like ever, right?
Sure.
But yeah, man.
I saw them in Hampton Beach Casino Ballroom. It was
really?
pretty crazy. Oh yeah, it was like that was a wild show, and I was and then I was not older, but I was in my late 20s at that point, so I'd already been around every show, every kind of faucet of danger, right? At that point, and I'm like, I'm not worried about anything. I got there and I was like, whoa, like I was legit like, something's gonna happen here. I got to be careful. It was pretty wild.
I need to have
those New Hampshire guys know how to rip it up.
Yeah. You went in keeping situational awareness, as we call it. Like,
oh yeah, dude, head was on a swivel. And I like to go up front and check things out. But I gotta maintain space because there are some heavy hitters in there.
Yeah. Fuck yeah, man. Do you as someone that was up front, do you remember the days when they used to be like massive pig piles because so many people were stage diving at once? You ever get stuck at the bottom of one of those, man? That'll be a come to Jesus moment for a lot of people. Like when you're like, I haven't breathed in 35 seconds and there's still 3 minutes left in this song and I don't know if I'm going to get up in time.
No, I remember seeing those a lot. And I got to be honest with you. Like, I mean, I've certainly been tossed around a pit and I've been in it. I was never one to, I did some stage diving without a doubt, but it was usually if I was standing on the side of the stage, I would just run through my friend's band and then jump in. Like I remember doing that with Reach the Sky and Converge or whatever. I was sitting on the side of the stage, and P-Boy, I don't know if you remember, P-Boy, kind of local legend here in the Boston area. And he was just like, oh, there goes Rucker. Rucker dives. He used to just say, Rucker dives, Rucker dives. I used to just love jumping off the stage and having a good time. But I never really got caught in anything too precarious. You know what it was, though? I was so into just watching it, like, whoa, what's going on here?
You didn't always have to be up in it. You were more trying to take in the whole situation.
That was more me. Like I was, I certainly love that lifestyle, and I respect what's going on there. But it was, before clothing and shirts or tattoos. I was always me, right? Like I was always my music, and this is it, and that, and again, it was funny because you can talk about so many people. I remember seeing people. I see people present day that I bump into it. I see at shows. I'm like, hey, you still listening to whatever, American Nightmare? And they're like, nah, man, I sold all those records and got out of that. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, like, were you just in it for, a couple of years or
tourist, tourist?
Yeah. I just didn't really know what it was. And now they're stuck with these spider web tattoos on their elbows. And they're just like, I got to get rid of this stuff. I'm like, well, it just seems kind of, I mean, it's funny because the Anthrax used to call out the posers, right? And I'm like, I mean, you were probably on the poser list, dude.
Yeah. Well, if you find any of them, tell them you know a guy that can get with a laser that can get rid of those things.
Yeah, I will.
One of the hustles. But hey, so what led you into getting into working in a motorcycle law firm? Because that's what's funny, man. Like, we always have these weird parallels, like, you know what I mean? Like music stuff, like you were radio, I was doing record label stuff, or vice versa, whatever. And then now I'm, been doing motorcycles a long time. Now you're in the industry. Like, how did you get involved in the motorcycle industry, and what's some of the, more, interesting aspects of that for you, coming from a heavy music and radio background?
Yeah, I mean, marketing is always, I could tell as a marketer at an early age, and I've always loved marketing, and marketing is always a moving target, right? It evolves on the digital side and on the traditional side. There's always new avenues to be a better marketer. And again, I know most of the audiences want to hear this stuff, but if there's a parallel to music, right? Like finding new music, finding new ways to market. Like there was always like that trendsetter thing for me. And there was an opportunity at a Boston-based law firm to make a difference, right? Like Jeffrey Glassman is a really good guy he's a motorcycle rider, he's a bike rider, and he's just, it's funny because the personal injury space didn't jump out at me right away. And I was shifting out of the sports agency that I was working on. I was looking for new opportunities. And a mutual friend introduced me to Jeff in his law firm. And I had an interview with the COO, who's an amazing guy. We hit it off right away, and he had a terrific vision of what they wanted at their law firm in terms of branding, marketing, and just really the overall outlook on where they wanted to go as a personal injury firm in the Boston area. Then I had a conversation with Jeff, and that really sealed the deal. And just understanding who he is and how he wants to really help people that don't have the ways and means to get it done, right? Or they were in a bad accident and don't know how to navigate those waters, right? And there's a certain element of that in me, even though I'm not an attorney, right? I'm the marketing director. But if I see someone get cranked up on a motorcycle or a skateboard or a bicycle, or maybe they work for a large construction company and they get injured on the job, like I hope those people get some backup. Like those people need someone to back them up. And Jeff really put together a great firm of attorneys whose goal it is to help those people and to really put them in a position to be rewarded and again to help them dig out of that situation. And it's something about it clicked in my head, and it was so much different than sports, so much different than music, so much different than anything I've ever done, but it was wildly refreshing. And it gave me a new outlook on my career in seeing those people come ahead and seeing those guys being taken care of, which is awesome, right? Like, again, it's, there's no punk rock spin to it. There's nothing overly sexy to it, but there is a certain element of like that service of helping people, which I really like.
Sure, man. Sure. Yeah. And I mean, like, there's no shortage of fucking motorcycle accidents nowadays, man. There's so many distracted drivers, and it's wild. Is there like, so if someone goes down, right? What's like the order of things they should do? Obviously, they gotta get to a hospital or whatever if there's big injuries and stuff. Like, at what point should they call Glassman?
Yeah, I mean, no, that's an interesting question, because it could happen to anybody, like a bike courier friend of mine, or again, skateboarder, or all my friends that ride motorcycles now, right? First thing is to do, like, just go take care of yourself first and foremost. I mean, that's obvious, right? Like, we all have common sense. get to the hospital, get medical treatment kind of straight away. But then you're going to have to do a little bit of legwork, right? Like, make sure you get a police report, make sure you understand your rights, make sure you get everything documented. You talk to anybody that's on the scene, witnesses, make sure you have all of that stuff baked and ready to go. And again, our law firm can help you get to the finish line on those things, but those are the things you should be doing, right? Like, is there a witness there? Did someone see me get hit on my motorcycle? Did someone see me get hit on my bike? Make sure you're taking notes on that. Again, get the medical stuff squared away, keep all your receipts, and then call Jeffrey Glassman's firm, like call our personal injury firm, because we can walk you through all those things.
Yeah. Just 1 second. I got to apologize. I got to apologize to the listeners. Like, I'm at my shop and the compressor just kicked on. I don't know if you're hearing that in the audio, but it's like, all right, I don't know if it's coming through or not, but I can hear like of a compressor going on in the background. So I slipped up and forgot to shut it off. So that's on me if you're hearing that. So relax, everybody, relax. We're not under invasion or something. All right, but sorry, man. Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to sound like an infomercial, dude.
No, but it's not.
You know how much I respect the podcast, but yeah it's just call our firm. I'm only asking
because I don't know what the fuck to do, right? Like, if I've been in accidents before, I just didn't even do anything because, like, whatever, Melnia Cass in Boston, right? I was riding down Melnia Cass. Some lady decided to cut me off and then got scared because she realized she cut me off, then jacked on her brakes, so I had to lay the bike down. But by the time I got up and picked it up, she had already took off, so I didn't do anything. But, like, this is pre-surveillance state America. This was probably 15 years ago or something. Like, the compressor just shut off, so all right. Great. But yeah, I mean, in cases like that's what I wouldn't even know where to start. You know what I mean? Like, with that one, it's probably nothing could happen because I didn't get a plate or anything, and there was no witnesses because how Boston is, everyone just fucking kept driving, right?
No one's helping you out. You're on your own, dude.
Yeah. But no, and I wasn't asking it to launch like any infomercial stuff. But I'm like, my take is you're here, you're representing a motorcycle injury attorney, or a motorcycle law firm. People, this might be good stuff for people to know, you know what I mean?
No. And you know what it is? I'm just trying to be, I don't know. I just love, talking to you and whatnot, but yeah, you're right. You're right. It's something that you guys all need to know about. And I didn't know anything about it before I worked there, right? Like, you saw all these billboards and all these ads and again, you're like, okay, like I know I haven't slipped in. You just never know. You don't need us until you need us, type thing, right? Yeah. So just knowing, deep down right here, like, I'm a pretty sincere guy. Like, I'm super loyal to my friends, family, all of it, right? Like, call us and we'll walk you through the whole thing.
Yeah.
We'll take you through the whole thing. The number's easy: 617-777-7777. It's all sevens across the board. And, you'll go right to an intake team, whatever language you speak, we got you covered 24 hours a day. I mean, how great is that, right?
Wow.
Midnight, 2, 3, 4 a.m. call. And those guys will have compassion and knowledge, and they know what they're doing, and they'll walk you through the scenario, and you don't need to be scared about it. And then let's go take care of business and take care of you, right? Let's take care of you. You don't need those medical bills. You might have this awesome motorcycle, chopper, whatever, and now it's a mess, right? Like, you've been working on it your entire life and you've been building it from the ground up. Like, we want to get that thing taken care of and get that paid for as well. Yeah. So it's real. It's real, man. There's stuff out there and you need to be taken care of. And those insurance companies aren't going to take care of you. They don't care about your chopper, right? They don't
I can speak to that from experience because we do handle insurance cases here. And I will tell you, like, if you are in a motorcycle accident and your bike gets hammered, do not just call the insurance company and have them come to your house and do an appraisal. Bring it here, or a motorcycle shop you trust. Like, I know that not everyone's local to me. And have them go through it before you have the appraiser go through it, or with the appraiser at the same time, because I guarantee every time someone's brought it to me, I find 20 more things than the appraiser found. You know what I mean? And the insurance company isn't there to rep you. The insurance company's there to rep their interest. And in their interest isn't paying you, even though you've been paying them for however many years. Sad to say. I mean, let's do real talk here. They want to fuck you.
It's
like,
real.
You know, it's not like they're like trying to fuck you, but they're trying to look out for their bottom line. So their bottom line is, what can I get away with paying and what can I skirt around paying? And honestly too, there's different levels of knowledge amongst these appraisers. Some of them are car guys or car girls, and they don't know shit about bikes. So when they come out, they're like, I don't know, and they're looking stuff up. And if you have any aftermarket parts, forget about it. They're lost. So bring it to a shop that you trust, you know what I mean? And then, because I've gotten people 10, 15 grand more than what their appraisal was originally, you know what I mean? Because I'm ruthless with them, because I'm like, I go to war with you, like, because I'm repping this dude that was in the accident, not the interest of the insurance company. But, you know, this is the same thing, man. Get yourself a pit bull attorney too, like Glassman, because, you know, I was a passenger in an accident years ago, and I didn't want to sue anybody. I thought I'd be suing like the dude that, like, my friend's father, because he owned the car. I was the passenger. I was like, I don't want to, like, and I got screwed. I still have broken bones and stuff to this day, you know, and I got nothing for it. I barely had my medical stuff covered because I wasn't like pursuing, like, got to be a pit bull in life because everyone's going to try and get over on you. And if you have a shitty attorney, if you're in a case now and you got a shitty attorney that's slacking, call up a real pit bull, man. You know what I mean? Call Glassman.
Yeah, I mean,
this ain't a commercial. Like, I already did the commercial at the beginning. You know what I'm saying? So, but I'm just looking out for people because I'm sick of seeing people get hit by some distracted ass driver, and you know they're fine. They might have some scratches on their car, but your life is like could be ruined. You know, because you're on a motorcycle, and it's a lot easier to get really fucked up.
And no one's trying to go after your family or your friends, right? Like, those people all have insurance. I have insurance. You do too. Yeah. And there's that push and pull between those companies. And if you think you're going to go to, if you think you're going to strike a favorable deal on your own with an insurance company, like, good luck, man. Like,
yeah, that's what I was saying.
Those guys are going after you too. Again, like they're running a bottom line company. Right. And those dudes are corporate, and they're going to try to keep the margins high. So that's why you need somebody to go after them on your behalf, because those, you know, the law firms speak the language. Glassman speaks the language. Like, you know, those guys. And then again, don't walk away. It's not on you. It wasn't your fault that you got smashed, you know, with by a distracted driver that was talking on the phone. Like, that's not on you. That's on them. And they have insurance, and let a law firm go after them for you and take care of business for you. It doesn't have to be cutthroat on your end. Just let, you know, you're just hiring representation on your behalf.
Yeah. It's wild, man. It's a wild world out there.
Yeah. It's tough, man. It's tough. You know, I see it. And since I've been involved with it, then you hear the stories, right? Like, you know, like I'll hear the stories. Maybe the attorneys are talking about it, and I'm like, wow, like, that guy's life has just been changed forever.
Yeah.
You know, like, some of these people will never work again. And it was because they just enjoyed riding their bicycle or their motorcycle, and someone was just doing something stupid behind the wheel of a car or a truck, and, you know, took a wide turn and clipped you. And that guy has 3 kids, and, you know, the insurance company representing the company for the truck driver, right? Like, they're not going to, good luck, dude. I mean, we'll give you a settlement. We'll give you $50K. Have a nice day. $50K is not going to float that family.
No. Yeah.
You know?
Not going to fix your back. It's not going to fix your back. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's why you got to get and it's great. You know, what's really cool is, like, there's no money up front. Like, you sign up, we accept the case, and then you know, we get paid, or the attorneys, and, you know, get paid. Jeffrey S. Glassman's group gets paid based upon the settlement, right? Like, we don't get paid. Like, you don't have to write us a check. You don't have to put down anything.
Yeah.
Let us do the work, and we'll get, which I like too, right? Like, it's just, you know, basically you're being compensated for the job that you're doing, which is a cool way of doing business. So don't think that it's expensive because it's nothing to start out and give us a call. Free
Yeah.
consultation all day long. That intake team's big, man.
I
Those
can
guys are
imagine.
taking calls right now.
Yeah, I can imagine, bro. It's funny because like ever since you started hitting me up and telling me about your new job and everything, like every time I drive into Boston, I see the billboards now and like it's like popping out. I'm like, yo, this dude's
Sure.
everywhere. This dude's on it.
Yeah. It's it's a competitive space, right? There's
Oh,
a
I can
lot of people
imagine.
doing it.
Yeah, I can
Yeah,
imagine.
there's a lot of people doing it, and
But guess
it's a
what, man?
competitive space.
Guess what though? Like if you are in a motorcycle accident, you'd rather be repped by an attorney or a law group where the head guy is also a rider because he gets it and understands a little bit better.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, 100%. And he's been doing it for so long. And again, it's like I'm sitting here almost like, as a brand ambassador, right? Like I'm the marketing guy, and, somebody might be like, oh, this guy just works. It's like, no, man. It's like, I don't need to come on this podcast and do this. Like, I don't need to.
You don't even need to work there. You could work wherever you want. You got a lot of experience. Like you could be doing something else if you didn't. And that's and honestly, and I know we've said it before, but like most of my, people that I work with on the podcast, like as sponsors or like affiliates, are like more from, punk rock or tattoo or hardcore or motorcycle related things. And you guys are a motorcycle related thing separate, but like I only signed on kind of the strength of me and your relationship, like and how long like we've been friends and like how much trust I got in you. Cause like when you say dude's good, I'm like, all right. Like just the way if I vouch for someone and you'd be like, all right, I know he's good then, you know what I mean? So, so that's I don't know. For whatever that's worth, it means a lot to me. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I mean, you feel it right here. It's relationship driven, right? Like if you give someone your word and you give them a recommendation, and you vouch for those guys, like I hope it's real, and I know it's real because that's who I am, and I don't want to go. I just have never lived my life that way, right? Like I've never just have told stories or again, it's vouching for people. It's like, friends, family, go a long way with me. And, if and again, Truth and I go a long way, and I would always have his back and his word. And then there's a reason why we sponsor this podcast, Jeffrey Glassman's Injury Lawyer sponsor. It's because this relationship's so organic and so real, and we can feed off of it and the energy and again, I vouch for you because it's a great podcast, and you vouch for me, and you have this terrific audience of motorcycle riders, which again, I'm not a rider, so but you are kind of the tastemaker in that space, and you can talk to that group on my behalf, knowing that you and I are locked together, linked. Yeah.
What do you guys see? I mean, this might be outside of your wheelhouse with your position in the company, but what do you guys see in a lot of? Because I've got a big influx of people with like insurance-related accidents where like they're on a bike and they're just at a stoplight and some distracted ass driver rear ends them because they're like texting, or they don't see the bike because the bike is skinnier than the car or something, or I don't know, whatever reason, they're not paying attention, because that's a nightmare to me because I'm on bikes with like limited small or no mirrors, and I'm like, now I'm always like looking back at a stoplight to make sure someone ain't coming up hot behind me. But are you seeing like, is there any typical stuff, or is it just all across the board?
Yeah, I mean, what I hear, again, like I'm not in the nitty gritty, and a lot of it's water cooler talk, or we have a weekend, like we wrap up the week as a firm with a big conference call on Fridays, and we talk about those success stories because it's super fulfilling for the attorneys too. Like when they come out with these big victories and they help someone that's hurt, like, the attorneys feel great about it. I mean, they're on the front lines, right? Like I'm on the marketing side, just trying to draw as much interest and, and get people to, to really engage with us and drive leads. But the attorneys are the one that get it to the finish line. And you should hear these stories, Truth. I mean, it's like, guy fell at a restaurant. He was a chef or whatnot. And, the corporate restaurant's not giving him his money, just all these stories that come out, motorcycle, bicycle, slip and fall, labor jobs, union jobs, right? A lot of those people aren't taken care of. And those attorneys tell those success stories at the end of the week. And man, I've been with the firm now for almost 4 months, and those success stories, or those stories at the end, they're heartbreaking, but knowing that we did a job to try to take care of them. So every week I hear these success stories, and they're wild.
Yeah.
To answer your question, across the board.
Across the board,
right?
All right,
Across the board.
Yeah, no, I was just curious because I didn't know if you guys had any data or something. Just as a personal interest to me to see what kind of accidents are happening, because a good majority of my friends are riders, so I'm always watch out, man.
Well, our number one, I think our biggest categories are bikes and motorcycles. Let's put it that way: bicycles and motorcycles.
Well, I can imagine in Boston, bicycling, that's a fucking hazardous activity.
Yeah,
even with the bike lanes.
I hear those calls too, right? Yeah. I hear those stories, and it's funny because I had a friend that came up. I just did lunch with him recently, and he's like, "I saw that you followed Jeffrey Glassman on Instagram. He's my attorney, and this guy's a bike courier." And he's like, "I got."
Well, we know a lot of them, right?
Yeah. And this, he's like, he got hit with a truck. He got hit by a truck.
Yeah.
And Jeff's repping him, and he didn't even know I worked there. Yeah. And he's like, "Yeah, they're really taking care of me." He's like, he had a couple broken bones. He just wants his medical stuff paid for, and he wants a new bike.
Yeah.
Wants a new bike. Like, he's not trying to, squeeze the life out of people. He doesn't want that truck driver to get pinned.
Yeah.
He just wants, he just is like, my bike that I put a lot of time and love into,
He just wants to be covered for his shit. Yeah. I get that, man.
100%.
Yeah. Well, cool, man. We're what else? What else is going on, dude? We're at an hour here. That went by so fast, dude.
Yeah, you know what though? It's like almost like I'm used to being on the other side of the mic, right? Like, I did it for so long.
I know. I was like waiting. I was like, I know he's just gonna ask me a barrage of questions.
Oh man, because I'm so interested. Like, I love the Big Truth podcast. I mean, what made you want to do this? I mean, beyond being so well spoken, so interesting, so knowledgeable. I mean, guys, Big Truth is. He's just full of. You're a super smart guy. You're educated. Listen, you check a lot of boxes, but tell me about the Big Truth podcast. What happened there?
Well, you know what? You can blame Ian McFarland for this, because he was like, dude, you should do a podcast. I'm like, and at that time, like, I wasn't ready to hear it because wasn't listening to podcasts at all at the time. And I was like, what the fuck is that? I literally thought podcasts were like one person sitting at a mic and rambling for an hour or two, or just giving opinions.
And hold on, Ian McFarland, for everybody, from Blood for Blood, bass player.
Yeah, and also, stellar documentarian, made The Godfather's a hardcore documentary and a bunch of other stuff.
Awesome. Oh, Czarface videos. I put those guys together.
Yeah, he's done all kinds of music videos. He's done all kinds of documentaries. He's done all kinds of commercial work. He's got a lot in the fire. I actually was talking to him on the way over today. He's got his he's stoking a few fires, and if any of these things pan out, they're going to be awesome. But so he was like, dude, you should do a podcast. And I was like, I don't do that. Like, I don't want to sit there and talk about something for an hour or two. And then I was like, that sounds like a lot of research or a lot of ranting, and I can't do that. But then I started listening to podcasts more, and obviously you hear things like Joe Rogan and or different ones, and I was like, oh, he's got a lot of interesting people on, and he's just having conversations, and it's a lot longer than like a TV or radio interview where you only got like 5 minutes or 10 minutes, and they get more in depth with shit. And then I was like, cool. I was like, I'll do that. You know what I mean? I was like, and I'll do the stuff I'm into. I'll do punk rock stuff and hardcore stuff and motorcycle stuff and weird shit. And that's where the paranormal stuff comes in. And, and that's really all it is. Like, there's not much more to it than that. It was just like, I just, like anything that we do, I just jumped into it. I was like, all right, I'll do it. And then I like researched. I spent like a few months researching like equipment, and I got to shout out my boy Josh, Gang Stout, that helped me out with like finding good equipment and stuff. And he's got his own podcast network, never mind his own podcast. And because I didn't want it coming out shabby, because I started listening to a lot of like hardcore ones, and I was like, this shit sounds like it's recorded in a fucking wind tunnel, in a fucking, in the middle of a tornado, in the middle of a mall, like, you know what I mean? I was like, you got dudes on it I want to hear, and I can't even hear it, so I wanted it to sound legit. So I probably was about 6 months of messing around and looking for equipment and stuff like that, and then just dived in once we went. And then when I was ready to dive in, it was kind of the times when things were shut down or just before that happened. And so then I had the benefit of being able to do one every week for a long time because it was easier to do one a week. I worked through the whole thing, all of the shutdowns I worked through, but because motorcycles was under auto repair, which was an essential service, so I didn't have to shut down. But it was easier for me to get in touch with people and get people on and have long conversations. If you listen to the old ones, they're like 3 hours, like because we just had the time to shoot the shit. You know what I mean? And that was it. That was really how it started. There wasn't no. This is all fly by the seat of my pants. Like it's Monday night, everybody. This one's coming out Wednesday. You know what I mean? This is, and because I'm running around, dude. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like, I get them as soon as I can. That's why it's bi-weekly now. I want to go back to weekly, but I would actually need like more of a staff, like to help or someone. I just need someone to corral me in and help me set stuff up. But
100%.
Left to my own devices is going to be every other week for a while, twice a month for now. But we'll get back to weekly.
Again, super proud of where you've gone. And I think if people take a look at the snapshot of Truth or Big Truth or how, or if Josh too, like just the snapshot of, from Brick Records, the hip hop, the hardcore, the metal, all the way up to where he currently is as a small business owner, restaurant, bike shop, and then now the podcast. It's like most interesting man in the world type stuff, so good for you, man. I'm super proud. It's more like and again, I appreciate you having me in the partnership too. It was awesome.
Yeah. Fuck yeah, dude. Always, anytime, open invite to come back on. It's not the most interesting man. It's the most stressed man in the world. That's the most stressed.
I bet you are. That's where you got so many things going on, dude. Like I don't know where does it begin and end with you?
Just 7 days a week grinding, man. But you know what? I don't have kids, so I can do it. But where can people find? And I already did a read for you guys earlier, and by read I mean I just riff. Like I don't all my commercial reads are just like me just talking, off the cuff. 617-777-7777. I should say, because this goes out internationally. Unfortunately, if you're outside of the state of Massachusetts, they aren't going to be able to help you at this point, right? This is only for Massachusetts people.
Give us a call because it could be there's certain categories that might work. For the most part, the motorcycle stuff is in state, but if you have if you're a veteran and you're looking for Social Security disability or Social Security disability in general, we can help you in multiple states like New York, New Jersey, Texas. We can help out. So just don't hesitate to call, right? Call. There's always going to be someone there. So if you're in any state or wherever we're coming at you from, just call. We'll figure it out. If you're local and you're a motorcycle rider and we have mutual friends like Truth, just call Truth and get my cell phone number from him, right? Okay. That's how granular we can get, right? We don't need to read it out, but if you stop in the chopper head and say, hey, can I talk to your buddy Chris? I'm not the attorney, but I'm going to hand you off to someone that's going to take care of you 100%. So if you feel like you want to go through that stream, which is, again, a reliable, two reliable guys, old friends, come join our network, right? Give me a call on my mobile. But again, everybody else, JeffreySGlassman.com, JeffreySGlassman.com. And of course, the phone number is a layup, 617-777-7777. So just call, right? Intake team, 24 hours, multilingual, anything. Don't hesitate. We got your back.
Find out how we got that number. I want to get 617-777-7778.
It's out there, man. Dude, landlines are available.
There's probably more landlines available than ever at this point because people are dropping them left and right. I think I even have a landline at my house, and I couldn't even tell you what that number was. Right? So wild, right? So wild. Well, dude, thanks for coming on, man. I know you just got home, and I know you're probably itching to get going. Like I said, open invite anytime, man, and we will talk more soon. Like I said, this will be out Wednesday. I'll send you all the stuff. hold on 1 minute. I'm going to shut this off, but I'm not hanging up. So hold up 1 second.
Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it.
Brace yourself for something fuel-nominal. Unleaded 88 is the clear fuel choice. It's cheaper, cleaner, and greener. And it's grown by Iowa corn farmers. Now that's totally worth the hype. So pump it up with Unleaded 88.